and department head updates and agenda item updates, so. Anybody have anything on the agenda tonight? Okay,
Hey.
figured some people did.
Number 11, resolution for the city council to authorize and approve the addition of one temporary fire station maintenance coordinator, which is the supervisor position, for the FY26 budget. This is to align with the retirement of our incumbent, who will hopefully be able to work with and train their replacement. The current coordinator retires September 30th.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
That's John, okay, and this is just to overlap for a little bit, and then
Yes.
that one will defund and close out.
Correct, per
All
usual.
right. Thank you. Sir, how are you doing?
Doing okay. How about you?
I'm well, thank you.
I have item number 18, requesting an unbudgeted expense of $72,900 to replace the sand filter tanks for the indoor pool. They are 26 years old, and when we fired the pumps back up, they failed. So I guess they're about due to be replaced.
Say so.
We did move some money, or requesting to move some money within our capital improvements budget that was for the press box renovation, repairs, however you want to say that. So we were shifting money over from that to cover it.
All right, perfect. Questions for Pat?
Thank you.
Good.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good, how are you? I just have number 10, and that is just our annual fire extinguisher inspection service.
We good with this one?
Yep, we finally got one.
This is third time's the charm, is that right?
Yes,
All right.
finally got someone,
Better
so.
late than never.
Well,
Yeah,
yes,
that's right.
hopefully they're good. So we haven't worked with them, so that's all we got.
Okay.
Perfect,
Thank
you.
easy enough.
Going smooth so
We're
far.
flying through this.
Oh, it's smooth.
Yes, ma'am.
I have several. I have from 12 through 15. Item number 12, this is authorizing to hire Jackson Thornton to do a rate study that will cover gas, electric, water, and sewer rates coming up. Do y'all have any questions on that? You selected it last meeting, and this is to authorize the contract.
And when was the last time we actually did the study? 22?
It was 22's data, and this will use
Okay.
26's data. So as
Okay.
soon as we
It's about every,
close the year, we'll get them the data they need, and it'll take them about 6 months to complete.
and do they recommend doing this every 3 to 4 years? Is that?
Yes, yes. And you can really see on some of the budget meetings we've kind of talked about, you can really see the cost of our, our costs going up from, 22s to current. Have any questions on that?
Ma'am.
The next one is number 13. And this is where we've had a lot of discussion on us, we're needing to borrow money for water and sewer. If you remember, we borrowed 2 years ago, $25 million. We did an extension and added additional $5 million. This past year did a 6-month extension. That is due November 1st. And so we're looking at the same time, is to do an RFP at the banks, local banks, to see if we can, what kind of rates we have from the local banks. And so this is authorizing me to advertise to do an RFP with the local banks. And then number 14 goes along side by side with this. It's been since 2007 since the city has actually done a bond issue to go, and they've done ratings, a few ratings throughout the year, and I think maybe the last rating was an update. I believe it was in 15. But for us to actually do the bond issue, it's been that many years. It's just recommended that us look at competition for underwriters to do a selection of underwriters for them to come in and give you what their quotes, what they would do for a bond issue.
And so, council, we're doing simultaneous RFPs, but is it fair to say that we could go either or some kind of hybrid combination even possibly?
We could. That's exactly
We're
right.
just gonna see what they come back with
Yeah,
and
and
what
you wanna
our
be able to
consultant recommends.
Yeah, and you want to compare what the issuing cost is. You know, comparing rates of a bank, and your issuing cost is very minimal. And then compared to a bond issue, you have underwriting cost. And then looking at those rates. Also being able to look at what's your call date. You know, a bond issue is 8 to 10 years. Sometimes the bank, you can have a call date that's less. That if you think that you would want to pay that off early, that's where the difference in the call rate's going to be.
In council, we, just for kind of a background, we did 25 million on a bank loan. We renewed it and added 5 million, so we're at 30. This due on the 1st. We're looking at another 50 or so. So we're looking at about 80 million and even have more than that in projects in the next several years. So, I think every little bit will help on this, so that's why we're deciding to put it out for an RFP and see if we can't get as many good responses as possible and then on the bond, we just select somebody to go with on the underwriting. That won't necessarily have quotes. But I think it's a good process. We've never borrowed this much money before, so.
That's right. I mean, and it's looking at how much money the city's never borrowed this much money. So that's you're just trying to be good steward to make sure that we're getting the lowest cost of issuance. We're doing the right thing.
Any questions for Kim?
And then the next item I have has our stop loss. So you can see with the attachment on the stop loss, our Cobbs Allen is our insurance consultant, and they put out for renewal or for bid every year for our stop loss. And our current provider at our current staying at $100,000 stop loss was doing a 60% increase. And we had on there is no lasers, and lasers are the high claims. And so Cobbs Allen is recommending to stay with the same provider, but to increase our stop loss coverage to 125. So we pay the first 125, and then stop loss would come in and pick up any claims over the 125. And so that would make our difference going up almost 40%, 39% increase. And so, that's the recommendation. If y'all see something different, you would want to do something different, but, I'm trusting our consultant. And then we'll have some other meetings to come back and look at maybe some structures of our plan. Right now, I have in the budget an 8% increase in health insurance to be able to get the amount of money that needs to be funded to offset the claims that's going to be recommended, what we think our future claims are going to be. We're shooting at a number. It's almost $6.5 million in insurance claims. So so I've got that in the budget to be able to have the amount of claims. But we will have some future meetings with Mayor and the consultant to look at maybe some plan structures.
So we're gonna increase stop loss to 125, and instead of it going up 60%, it'll go up 39%.
Yes.
And we like that better than the 150 option.
It's
The risk, the unknown, yeah.
It's the risk that's going on, that you have, the claims.
But I mean, how many more significant claims, I'm just looking at, so
So,
we're looking at a 1.1, what's the 1.1, the premium
yes, that,
versus 970, so that's 130. You'd have to have, I guess, six
claims. Greater than
maxed out.
Yes, and I mean, in 23, 24, we had 6 in the 24, 25, and then this year we had the 4. So,
So,
No great answer to this
No,
question,
it's not.
unfortunately, because there's just, costs, not just here, but everywhere, have skyrocketed, and it's just, it's becoming unworkable for,
And there-
for
and there's-
everybody.
And there's just no way of knowing,
Right.
the claims, the future of the claims and what you're gonna have. And I think that's, obviously the hard part. If we had a crystal ball, it'd be easy, but trying to look at historical data and, again, recommendations from the consultant and again, trying to balance the risk that we're taking.
It's definitely, and, I mean, and the question came was, do we go back fully funded with Blue Cross? Or do we still stay self-funded? And, me analyzing it over the past 5 years, we actually, we were balanced, but on those good years, we were able to put that money in the bank account. We've ate up that money, but if we were with Blue Cross and we had that good year, that there was one year that was $400,000, Blue Cross would have kept that.
Yeah.
And then the next year, another 300,000 that was put into the bank account, they would have kept that. But the bad year would have increased, and we wouldn't have been able to get any savings from that. So I think the plan is done very well.
Okay.
It's just, we've
Just
hit
finding ways
we've hit
to
a couple
save.
of bad years, but I think we've done well, and we just got to get through this.
Okay. Any other questions for Kim on the stop loss?
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Only thing I have is a public hearing. Since we had an early meeting, the applicant's actually here. Typically, we wouldn't even talk about that in a work session, and because it's a public hearing, we wouldn't do that until 6 regardless.
Ah.
Is that still the case, or would y'all like to talk about that? They might go grab a cup of coffee or something since there's 2 hours to go.
Yeah, I think I would. Larry might treat y'all to dinner.
I'm gonna stay here for the rest of it, but we typically don't talk about those public hearings in a work session.
Until the time. So okay. So even if we're flying ahead of things, we need to bring that one back to 6 o'clock. Okay.
Is that, okay,
All good.
all right, thank you.
Good, sir.
Good evening. If it's allowable, I'll cover my agenda items and also knock out number 2 on the work session at the same time.
Why not?
I have items 6, 7, 8, and 9. Item number 6, we are before you asking for what I consider to be a good change order for our
Bless you.
Julian's Plaza project. This was brought on by 2 things. The project can go forth without the change order, but a couple things arise. One, on the original corner that has been demolished and being rebuilt, there did exist 80 of the 12 by 12 memorial pavers, and I think staff has learned the hard way that you cannot be nonchalant when it comes to the location of memorials that people have given it time. And when we looked at other locations within the city to locate them, let's just say that the folks that gave the memorials were not real thrilled with that. This change order allows us to keep the memorial at the same corner, other than the fact that it doesn't run up Fairhope. They would run down Bancroft from that corner and allow us to do that 105-foot sidewalk and the red pavers that we've done many of our sidewalks as opposed to concrete. And we're asking you to consider that, and our treasurer has found funds to transfer to cover it. But we would, the architect as well as the city and those that gave those memorials would really appreciate this change order. So I'd be glad to answer any questions on it. Item number 7, and I will tell you, I want to thank the city of Fairhope and you as the council, because you have allowed me to expand my horizons as an engineer. And I can't say that there's many engineers in the world of engineering that have a hermit hut on their resume. And as you know, this has been a passion project of many of the stakeholders of the Henry Stewart House. And part of the process has been the city agreed to accept the Henry Stewart House and relocate it to Flying Creek Nature Preserve and then take care of it in perpetuity if they raise the money to cover the cost, which they have worked very hard to do. We turned it into a public works project, went out for bid. I will tell you that we had a pretty detailed bid process. One, we knew we had to have a local general contractor be the lead, but they had to bring in with them a qualified house mover, and we had a pre-qualification process there. Of the bidding contractors, they submitted pre-qualifications for 4 house movers. 2 of them under separately. One moved the Cape Sandblast Lighthouse and one moved the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, which pretty impressive historic masonry structure. And we opened those bids a couple weeks ago, and they were competitive. We did receive 5 qualifying bids, and we are asking you to consider the awarding of the bid to Fairhope Building Company at a bid of $421,050. That price does include a pretty large 10% contingency because we've never moved a historic masonry hermit hut, so we know there's probably going to be some things that we find in this project that we didn't anticipate, as well as $30,000 for mechanical, electric, and plumbing, even though we're only going to run electric to the building because that's all it has today, and including landscape materials because we're moving a building into a park and we've got to restore that whole area, that move path and everything else. And I do want to take time to remind you that the team of DDG and Cypress Coast Consultant basically volunteered their architecture and engineering services, and the only hard cost that the folks that raised the money was the $3,500 for the survey, and that had to be done because that was one thing that design team did not have in-house as surveyors. So it's been a wonderful team. Just everybody kind of rowing in the same direction, and we're excited that you're considering this tonight, and we are recommending you award that contract. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Well, what is your opinion on the move? Do you think that it's going to withstand? I know you said you have these professional companies that do this for a living.
I tend to be a risk-adverse person in general, but after getting to know these house movers, they kind of look at this as a piece of cake,
Yeah.
considering the things that they have actually moved that were much larger, much more complex, the environment much more difficult to work in, the distance greater, and everything else. They're the subject matter experts, and the actual subcontractor is Hollis Kennedy from Athens, Alabama. They're the one that moved the Cape Sandblast Lighthouse, and his comment to me was, this is a piece of cake. It's like eating ice cream, nothing to it. So,
I guess they're going to dig around it.
Yes, they will excavate it, put structural support under it, literally jack it up into the air, put dollies under it, and drive it down the road to its new site.
Oh, okay.
So
That's how it's going to go, right?
at about the speed of a slow person walking. So so this is their industry. That's what they do. So they don't. If you're asking Richard Johnson, do I have reservations? Yes, every day and twice on Sunday. But they seem to be very confident in their abilities. So.
Okay, thank you.
And item number 8 is also our work session item. As you recall, the state of Alabama passed the Rebuild Act back in 2019 that provided a 1-cent gas tax to go toward road resurfacing and road maintenance projects. Part of that act, we have to adopt an annual transportation plan, which is basically a list of roads that are pre-qualified for that money to be spent on. I do want to cover with you in the last year, which just finished up, in our 2026 paving package, we resurfaced 21,000 linear feet of roadway. That works out to be 8 lane miles, meaning any mile of 2-lane road has 2 lanes in it. So 1 mile of road gives you 2 lane miles, or 4 roadway miles of resurfacing. And we've held pretty steady over the last many years. I probably should send you a report of everything we've paved since 2017. It's a pretty encompassing list. And just so you know, the Rebuild Act produces right around $190,000 a year. So the roads that we have listed here represent over millions of dollars worth of paving. So any of these roads will qualify, and we won't have any problem consuming that in this next year's budget. But there's a resolution that you have to pass it, which is item 8, but this is a housekeeping item. And then the next thing I have to do per the act is we will report where we spent their money in FY '26 and the contractors that received those contracts. So I'll be glad to answer any questions about that.
I have a question. How do you decide which roads are to be repaved? I have citizens asking me to come look at their roads, and who makes that decision? So we
Two
can answer that
things.
question.
One, through multiple avenues, whether it's a city council member saying, can you look at Road X? Or
Okay.
someone does 311 and says, I sure would like my road repaved, we add it to the list. And then John Thomas and his team, including our inspectors, go out every year and evaluate that list and rank the roads based upon their condition and importance and everything else. And we try to be kind of systematic in saying, okay, what are the top 10 worst roads that we have right now? How many of those can we get knocked out in the coming resurfacing year?
Well, I think that's good news. We're able to move forward with
And
that.
this list is ever-changing, meaning right now, Public Works and the construction right-of-way inspectors are actually doing the evaluations, and roads will get added, and priorities will change. But basically, the only thing we're doing tonight, we're not approving paving, we're just approving a list of roads that qualify for these funds to be spent on in the
Okay.
next budget year. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the last item is item number 9. We are asking you to approve the selection of Geocon to provide geotechnical testing services for our safe room construction. If the council would be willing, I would love for you to approve the awarding of the contract. It is a on-call service, meaning that when we need to test the soils, they come in and do a soil test, but they said it would be a not to exceed 30,000, and understand that is a 90-10, meaning 90% of it's being paid by the FEMA grant for the professional service. If you can't do that tonight, we'll see you in 2 weeks with a not to exceed of 30,000, but we may have a call for some soil testing between now and then, so I would prefer to have it kind of legitimately in place.
You're just saying, just add it to this resolution and approval, or do we have to walk on a separate one, Marcus?
This would be authorizing the mayor approve the selection of that professional services division. It would just be add-on, or not an additional one, it'd just be amended to not to exceed.
Not to exceed 30, just add that language to this current resolution? Yeah, I don't see any reason why not
Modify
to do
it,
that.
just, instead of just a not to exceed of 30,000 and be done.
And authorize the mayor to execute the contract.
Yeah.
Hear about the
With a not to exceed.
negotiate.
And we'll probably just do it by purchase order, if that's, because it's just a services contract for them to come in and test materials. So I'll be glad to answer any other questions.
All right. Anybody?
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, is five is done, right?
And the chief.
No, Eric's going to cover that in a second.
Yeah, I think it's.
Chief, yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
I've got 3 items, 19, 20, and 21. 19 is the Baldwin County Humane Society requesting permission to close the streets downtown for the Witches Ride, and that's on October 29th from 5 to 7.
Questions for Chief?
It appears to be the same route as last year, so nothing's changed. Item 20 is an application for retail food store consumable hemp products. That's Kamal Constantine, doing business as Piggly Wiggly. Everything checked out fine on that application. And the last item is beer, wine on off premise for the club at Fairhope Golf Works, and everything checks work there as well.
Any questions on any of those items?
Right across
Council?
from,
Where is that place?
Right across from Public Works, right?
No, actually, this is going to be off of
I think they have a spot there, but this
Yeah.
is over by maybe the warehouse.
with the warehouse, yeah.
Oh, warehouse,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, Hannah, I thought you'd have a great 5 o'clock place. but-
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
sorry, Eric, we're trying to steal your thunder there. I was
No,
just
you're
asking.
not stealing it. Well, literally, yeah. No, it took an interesting turn last week because we, several folks, and I got a lot of text on Friday afternoon, that somebody had just torn the building down. So it is a pile on the lot right now. There were no permits issued for that. So I spent time Friday afternoon and today, Reverend Cody's going to be here. And so the permit, our typical process is if work is done without a permit, the first thing we do is determine, was the work done in compliance with city codes? If it was, then we will issue an after-the-fact permit, and we double the permit fees is how the ordinance penalizes that work. We've got everything we need to issue the permit except some sort of letter or documentation verifying who owns that church, because I don't want to issue a legal document that they can tear it down until we have something stating who actually owns it, and yes, they have permission to tear it down. Reverend Cody's going to be here tonight. He said he can present us with some documentation to that effect. So if he can, then they're welcome to load it up and haul it off and be done with it, and we'll all move on to the next project.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay?
We need to keep this on the agenda since we don't know about making sure they're hauling it off.
Let's go on ahead. Yeah, that's the one thing, in the bids that we got, the one that the church got was like half of what the other 3 quotes I received was. And my biggest concern, and what I kept telling the pastor, was I want to make sure that they understand that they have to take that debris to Magnolia landfill. They're not going to be allowed to take it to the city landfill. We don't accept C&D. And in talking with the other contractors, over half of their bid was load out and haul off and tipping fees at Magnolia. So it kind of, my radar went up when I saw that bid that was half price, trying to make sure that they accounted for the tipping fees and the actual haul off of the debris. So but really, to be honest with you, right now it's in the church's hands. We're not going to issue a permit until we have legal documentation that they own it and that they gave permission for it to go down. From talking to the pastor, no one at the church ordered him to do it. Apparently, the contractor took it upon himself. So, as it stands, it's through no fault of the church members or Reverend Cody or anyone in that situation.
Gotcha.
Eric, now that's knocked down, though, it's not a dangerous structure, right?
Yeah, well,
Or does it still fall under the ordinance?
it's not going to
least
fall and hurt
eliminates
somebody.
most
We
of the
do
safety
want to get
issue.
rid of the pile of debris because it's an attractive nuisance. We want to go on ahead and get that cleaned
That
up
could
and
still
hauled
fall
off.
under the
It could still fall
ordinance?
under this, but as it's.
Table this, because we're not gonna demo it, but we still got issues with carrying it off that we don't know that was resolved.
I mean, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with the council, is let Reverend Cody and his folks come tonight and give their accounting of what happened and what they're in the process of doing. And then if the council feels that it's appropriate to table at that time, then I would at least give him a chance to tell us, what happened on their end and
Right.
how they intend to deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I've got 16 and 17, which are both related to the airport, kind of Councilman Burrell's wheelhouse, maybe. And what's that? Yeah, just grants. And he's already gone through the agenda, I think, with the mayor, so he said he's pretty much up to speed on everything when he gets here. I guess we'll go ahead and roll into the next item on the agenda I have is presentation of the recommendation from the Evergreen Solutions Compensation and Classification Study completed for the city of Fairhope.
So say I'm not presenting on the budget.
Well,
So this is not the full report. I'll just start by saying that. This is just kind of an update on how we got to the recommendation for the classification plan, which we are asking the council to adopt with the FY27 budget. The full report, the consultants are still finishing that. They're still on schedule with that. So when that's completed, we'll schedule for that presentation to be made. So just want to let y'all know we're not going through everything, but just kind of the first few phases. Study goals, first assess our current conditions. So this was done going through focus groups with our employees and the consultants being on site, issuing a citywide survey to our employees, and then a thorough review of our pay policies. After that, we reviewed our internal equity, so that was going through all of our job descriptions, placement within the pay scale, going through a job assessment process with the, both employees and the supervisors, reviewing that data, and understanding kind of how everything is sitting today. From there, they evaluated our external equity, which is going through the labor market and benchmarking job classes against other municipalities and utilities, and then presenting us with recommendations for a pay scale. So we'll give you some information on that. Starting off, you'll see that we have 53% of our employees currently sitting above the midpoint of the grade. So all of our grades have a minimum, a midpoint, and a maximum. So the majority of our employees are sitting above that midpoint. 15% are in the first quartile, so it's the first 25% of the pay range. 67% of our employees are sitting in the second and third quartile. You're also going to see that our average tenure is 9.2 years for our employees. That's actually higher than a lot of our competitors, but it's not as high as it used to be. It's not quite as surprising to those of us in the industry that people aren't sticking around in the public sector quite as long. Seeing that 67.4%, those are our employees, that's 50% of the pay range, the second and third quartiles. That's saying two things. One, we're actually hiring at a competitive market rate regardless of our current grade minimum. So we're bringing people in higher than that minimum set for the grade. You're also seeing that current minimums are not competitive, and that's why we're having to bring in employees at a higher rate. Let's see what else. So our current hiring practices, this is part of what's pushing so many of our employees into the second and third quartile. We've made a lot of changes to payroll over the years, some improvements for our employees, but also having to bring them in at a higher rate in order to stay competitive and in order to retain them. So kind of operating outside of the norm for industry standards. Typically, if you're hiring somebody into a position as an external hire with 10 to 15 years of experience, that employee should be brought in closer to the midpoint. But because of the scale that we have today that we're operating in, we're bringing people in with almost no experience in the job close to that midpoint. And that's because that midpoint is the actual competitive pay rate. Let's see, a couple of other points. And I think I kind of covered this. The midpoint of a career is closer to 10 to 15 years. So seeing employees who have been here for 9 years being paid closer to the midpoint tells you that our current pay and our pay scale aren't quite matching for
Say that one more time. So where should they be, you're saying? At 10 years?
lower than the midpoint.
They should be lower than the midpoint
Yes,
at 10
at an
years.
average of 9.2 years. And because typically you're assuming the midpoint of your career is closer to the midpoint of that range. So somebody with 15 years of experience should be sitting closer to the midpoint. But because of our lower rates and having to attract qualified talent, we're bringing employees into the city closer to the midpoint today than we probably should be. But that's due to the ranges that we're having to work with today, which is the reason for the study as well. So internal review, this is the employee outreach. It includes some feedback from the focus groups as well. We had 250 survey responses received, with 77% of our employees feeling that pay doesn't align with the cost of living. Of course, most of our employees are coming here and staying because of our benefits. The majority of our employees do live here in Baldwin County, so that location and that commute makes a pretty big difference to them. We talk a lot about our competitors, the county, Daphne, Spanish Fork, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach. All of that was taken into account within this study and paid close attention to as well because they are, who we compare ourselves to with and kind of trade employees back and forth with throughout the year. Additional internal review, more specific to compensation, probably a more negative side. Not as many employees feel that our pay is competitive compared to the market. They're not sure about our pay practices, which we've been working on over the years. And as we adopt a new pay scale, we'll probably have to update our pay practices moving forward anyway. So that's something that's going to have to be fluid with us. They're also wanting pay tied to performance. So they're looking for their pay increases to be tied to their annual performance evaluations as opposed to just a small bucket that they're able to look at. So that's something that we're talking about internally and trying to find ways to improve upon as well, and just to make sure that we, are able to share with our employees that we're hearing them and we're listening to them.
Anna, of the folks that answered this, how many of them, do you know where they are on the pay scale?
No,
is the
that
person
was
saying they're not
anonymous,
competitive
right?
at the top of the pay scale or the bottom of the pay scale?
It was an anonymous survey and
So
that
it's just-
information
yeah.
wasn't correlated.
Okay.
Okay.
I know we said anonymous, but tell us
Right,
the
you
real.
know. Luckily, I didn't conduct any of
People
it,
squirming
so.
now.
So moving to the external review, this is something that was included in the RFQ as well. Selecting our peers, collecting data, comparing their pay ranges with ours, then determining our position within the market. This is important because when you're doing compensation study, you cannot just do an internal review or just do an external review. You have to do both of those so that you can blend them and kind of aggregate those results. So we, of course, recognized all of our competitors within the county, but we also went throughout the state as well. Our true labor market is not just what happens in Baldwin County, and it's not just what happens in a specific industry. It's what happens across the state with other local and municipal agencies. So that's who we're talking about when we talk about our labor market. So we had 20 peers. That was the number that was outlined in the RFQ. And we were fortunate enough to receive 100% response rate. So that gave us really, really robust data to work with. We identified 129 job classifications. That's not the total number of classifications because we do have rank structures within our larger departments. So for those classifications, we either chose an entry-level rank or more of a ceiling rank and knew that we could kind of build up or down on that. If we did not have an agency who had enough information, then maybe we weren't able to include them, or the consultants sometimes were able to go find some independent data through some federal labor market databases. With these 129 classifications and the matches, antitrust law requires that the consultants have 5 or more exact matches in order for that to be considered an accurate data point that they can use. So because of that, we had almost 1,200 peer matches that they were able to work with, which gave us a lot of information. The other thing is that they were not looking at just a job title or just a minimum qualification. They were really looking at the essential functions of a job, because from one agency to another, everybody titles things differently. So we're looking at what the actual job does and then what that job pays from one agency to the next. So what they found was that our market position was around the 50th percentile. Our minimums were 15% below the market average. Our midpoint was about 9.5% below the market average. And generally, our maximums of our grades were pretty competitive. The range spread is probably the biggest point to note on this slide. The city's range from minimum to maximum was about 85.6%. But what our peers are doing are closer to 55%. So that kind of tightens up that scale for an employee, but it brings those minimums way up to make them more competitive while still leaving plenty of room for employees to grow within their range or within their assigned grade. Going back to that slide 5, we brought those minimums up closer to that second quartile to make a little bit more sense for our employees. And then, of course, they've got some recommendations, individually from there. So what they recommended were 2 different market-aligned plans. One is for our typical 40-hour-a-week employee or 2,080 hours a year. And the other one is a separate public safety plan. If you look at our pay scale now, it's separated. Public safety's below. That's because they've got a different rank structure, and of course, they've got different annual hours. So it's basically mirroring what we have now. They then worked with us, and we slotted all the classifications into the new scale, and then gave us some recommendations for administering the new plan. So 30 grades as opposed to our existing 16, which also gives us more room within the city to have more growth for our employees, especially as they move up within promotions. We found a lot of jobs are existing in the same grade when they're actually different ranks, so it was not a true promotion for the employees. So we made sure that every job is separated so that there's none of those compression issues. And then this is the public safety scale. So they're going to have 14 grades in total, and these are based on the 2,184 hours per year that they work. Questions?
Tons.
Thank you for taking this on. I know that's a heavy lift, and you've been working on it a long time, and I would just say some responses to some of the data put out by here. I mean, unfortunately, inflation's just been a beast, and there's no way we can keep up with the cost of living versus what inflation's done the last 3 or 4 years. it would probably bankrupt the city if we try to keep up with that true cost. But looking at that, it seems like what it's saying is we're going to have to raise some of that entry level pay to be competitive. I mean, I agree with that. We want to attract top talent here. We want to keep them here.
Yeah.
I also feel like sometimes it's very hard to kind of navigate the raising the entry level and recruitment pay scale, and then it seems sometimes like you wind up almost penalizing people for being loyal and staying here a long time, and that, you know, I don't know how you thread the needle on that, but I certainly don't want the long-time employees to be overlooked just for the, hey, we're going to raise all the costs for
So-
recruiting new people in.
Part of the RFQ and what they've also provided us, which is subject to budget, is some options on how to administer current salaries within the new pay plan. So that's something that I'm working closely with mayor and department heads on to make sure that there is some equity with that, so that we're not punishing somebody who's been here for a long time, or, you know, we're not keeping somebody outside of a range because of where their pay is. So they did give us a lot of those options. It's not something I can present.
Right, I understand.
But y'all, you know, that information we can dive into if y'all have questions about it. But I think, you know, when you get into salaries with budget conversations, it's been wrapped up in there.
And that's the challenge. We've had multiple conversations about that already, is we want to raise salaries. We've just got to do it in a sustainable kind of manner. So we just need everybody to do 2 jobs, and we get everybody a really good raise. But does anyone have any questions for Hannah on the survey?
I do. Hannah, thank you. I've been waiting for this. It's been a lot of data. First, I want to ask some questions about the actual survey that was done. There were comments that the COLAs were not as close to our peers, but is that a reality? I'm talking, and I don't know if you want to compare that data set, the 20, or just our Baldwin County peers.
The survey is perceptions, right?
Right.
So they're given a list of questions, and these are consultants who do statistics, and that's not me. So this is how employees are perceiving our pay rates, or perceiving our benefits, or perceiving our cost of living adjustments. I personally don't know what other agencies in Baldwin County are doing as far as cost of living adjustments, so I don't think I could speak on that.
But just in the pay range comparison, we're starting 15% average
Yeah.
below what other places.
Well, if we're the 50th percentile, we're right there. I mean, we're sort of like, right, 50%, 50 is above us, 50 is below us, right?
I mean, like, yes and no. So one of the perceptions that they have is that we don't have competitive pay, and that's
Right.
because when we talk about hiring an employee or moving an
Now,
employee into a
everybody
new grade.
thinks that everywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
They do, and
get
it's
in
all
line
with
with
a
an
grain of
employer,
salt.
they'll tell you that. Yeah.
Bless you.
But what
Grand
they're
hotels,
seeing
Yeah,
is,
yeah, they say
what
the
they're
same
seeing
thing.
is the low minimums, right? They're
Right.
seeing it that, you know, I have to start at $13 an hour, when that's not the reality, because we've worked so hard to bring entry-level pay up. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of a hard question to ask. The survey wasn't
Well, I
giving
think to me,
those
it's important
specifics.
because we need to know if it's a reality or is it bad communication on our end. Is Daphne really raising cost of living by 5% every year and we're only doing 2? Or is Daphne actually doing 3 and we're doing 4, but the word's not getting out? So that's, you know, that's a key differentiator
Please.
if that's the case.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is over the past 5 years, I mean, we've done an across-the-board increase, and I think almost every municipality in Baldwin County has done an across-the-board
Right.
increase, more significant than just the COLA throughout the past 5 years. And I think that has varied, like, we might have done it one year, and then Daphne raised 5%, and then we did a COLA of 2%, and they might have done 3%, or we did
Yeah.
a 10% adjustment across the board. So I think we can probably get you those comparisons.
just-
But I think that everybody has done significant increases trying to get pay to where we could all be competitive,
Of
because we
course.
were losing employees to each other.
Yeah.
So it's a constant back and forth.
I would just love to know if it's
Yeah.
a poor perception, but the reality is different, or if the reality is true. Hey, yeah, over the last 5 years, we've done 10% of COLA adjustments, and Daphne, which has a higher starting point, has done 15%. Well, that's stuff we need to know. But if it's reversed, then, okay, well, we might just need to be communicating that more clearly.
I think you even find other municipalities in Baldwin County who haven't done a COLA at all in 2 to 3 years.
Right, and that would be
we've been-
something to talk about,
And we've been able
too.
to maintain that.
And the second thing is, we talked a lot about salary, but is that total compensation, or is that strictly the paycheck that they're taking home?
They're probably looking at the paycheck they're
Just the
taking home.
paycheck, because that'd be the other thing we need to look at is,
Yeah.
the benefits package is how that compares, because that's a huge
Right.
Like,
And
that can be very big.
yes, and so and that comes in the full report is kind of how our benefits are
Yeah.
comparing to other agencies. That's not what I have for y'all today, but the full report will have that information, kind of
report
how
will,
we're
okay.
doing competitively. It might not have everybody's individual rates, but it'll tell you, it'll be much more informative
Yeah,
than what
yeah,
I can
yeah.
give you right this second.
We do give that to the employees once a year at the benefit fair.
Yes.
They get a statement that shows their salary plus benefits, so they know what their total value is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my wife's job does that too. It's good. It shows like the total value of your compensation, right? Which is a good thing. Okay, that's all I have for
I just
now.
have something quick.
Yes, ma'am.
So didn't you say at the meeting that we were at recently that actually the employees that begin working for Fairhope can look and see as time progresses how their pay scale is going to increase?
No, because we're sticking with an open range plan. So one option in compensation is a step plan where you can see 25 steps, and that gives you 25 exact hourly rates or annual rates. And so somebody could say, oh, well, if I get one step every year for 25 years, I know what my final salary would be. But we're doing an open range plan, so there are no set figures within that minimum to maximum range. Some employees like that option. It's not uncommon in the public sector, but that's the only way that they would be able to actually track and
But they'll still
definitive
know
hourly
that
rate.
each step that they take, that they're going to be rewarded. for that.
No, not quite. Not with the open
How
range
will they know
plan.
that they're going to get a pay increase?
Right, we have
Yeah,
merit.
so that would be
Right.
performance-based.
Okay.
So with the COLAs, that's obviously subject to budget, but our performance-based system, typically that's based on their evaluation. And that's something that they're looking for as well, more of is a better performance management plan where they can see, if I do, so well in my evaluation this year, this would be a designated amount that I would get. But that's not something we have today, but it's something that according to the surveys, they're interested in.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. People are motivated by money.
All right, any
Not
other
me,
que-
not me.
Any other questions for Hannah on this? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, Kim, here we go.
Good evening.
Evening, Kim.
You have a copy of the presentation. Also, you have for the wastewater, we have a summary, you have a summary of the utilities. That's the utility cash flow requirements. And then for wastewater, wastewater is one that when we've had multiple budget meetings, wastewater is one that we just haven't completely gone through. And so what you have tonight is a detail of their department, and then wastewater's 5-year plan for capital plan, and then you'll have detail of equipment, capital improvements, and system improvements. And on that, it gives a little justification. So that gives you a little bit more detail of the wastewater. And then at this PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to go through, this is all the utilities, capital infrastructure. And then at the end, we'll just have any questions. If you have more in-depth questions for the wastewater or any of the utilities, we can talk about. So we're going to start with gas department. If you can see that on vehicles and equipment, there's an increase for this year, and so the equipment here, you'll see that there's multiple pieces of equipment, Caterpillar, some mapping equipment, a new vehicle. Do you have any questions on, and if you need some specific on what a piece of equipment does, that would be Wes to answer that question. Do you
Kim,
see? any
Aren't a
questions?
couple of these to help reduce our costs from contracting out things? Is that right? Or am I mistaken?
That was the
different one?
calibration,
Machine.
the calibration machine, the smart calibration machine. So the electrofusion machines, that's actually 8 machines, so they're $7,000 a piece.
right.
And then they're having to
That's right.
send those out for 45 days for calibration.
right, yeah.
And this allows us to calibrate them ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to save some time.
Yeah.
The capital improvements, This is for an additional bathroom facilities in the Utilities Public Works building. There's, I believe, my understanding is there's one female bathroom, and so we're going to be adding on in the backside, or the recommendation is to add a bathroom in the backside of that building and additional office spaces. And I think they were going to do some improvements to the other bathrooms that are existing in with this. Yes, off the break room. And the gas department, actually, that building is their asset. It's on the books as the gas department. And so this asset would be on the gas department, but I also have a transfer in from the other utilities to help offset. That building holds a lot of departments in there, so we're actually be sharing some cost. It's just the asset has to be booked on the gas department. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
The next is system improvements. We're going to do 7.3 million. As you are aware, the cast iron replacement, that has been a 6-phase plan. So we're continuing to work on that plan. And so you can see on there engineering for phase 4. At the same time, we're working on phase 3. So it'd be the goal would be to finish up phase 3. At the same time, we'll be working on getting that phase 4 engineered to have it ready to be able to go out to bid for in 28.
And that's the biggest ticket item, and Wes has been working on at least submitting grants, trying to capture funding for that. May or may not be successful, but
Yeah, and we hope by November that we will know if we're awarded the grant to help cover the cost of that cast iron replacement. But there is money in the federal government for the cast iron replacement. And you'll see like the I-10, that 800,000, the I-10 gas, it's going to be to move that gas line for the bridge. That will be reimbursed by the state. And we have another, the County Road 64 relocation. That is a reimbursement from the county. So we'll have that money coming in to offset the project.
Any of this rollover? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just have to read and it says rollover. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
we were almost there.
So-
You'd
So,
no,
yeah,
you'd
the
figured
engineering
it out.
is
Yeah.
the rollover. So, y'all have any questions on that? I know that's a lot, but cast iron is the biggest
Well,
project
on
that's
that
on there.
cast iron, Mayor, is
Don't
that something
retire
that
until you get it done,
that
so.
we solicit Dane's help on that?
So we've already done that, and we've gotten letters of support from our federal delegation. Actually, I just talked to Dane this morning again to remind him to make a few additional calls, knowing that in October that's going to be awarded. So he said that he would do that. But again, that's
Perfect.
$14 million, which will cover the remainder of the phases. So I told him, I said, if we make it to a second or third round, however they're doing that, I said, I just want to make sure that we're communicating that we're willing to do 50-50. We're willing to, work with them. We'd love the whole grant, but we
Yeah.
also are willing to take 50 cents on a dollar if we can
Yeah,
get it.
because we have to do the
That's
work,
right.
so it's
Correct.
not an
So-
all or nothing
Correct.
to
Or I
us.
said if we can get part of it this year and have to wait another year as additional funding becomes available, whatever we have to do to get some of that money, that we're willing to work with them. So
Sounds good.
hoping that
Thank
will work.
you.
Fingers crossed. Everybody cross your fingers.
Your toes, everything.
Yes. Do y'all have any questions on the gas department?
Wes, I've already asked you, buddy. I mean, okay. You disappointed? You really did a good job, Kim and the mayor and Wes, on this.
Electric department. As you can see on vehicles and equipment, it's $821,000. There's a couple of those trucks there. We're actually budgeting half. Those trucks will take 2 years to come in. So that's what you're seeing, that we're budgeting half the boom truck for this year, and then next year we'll budget the other half. And that way we can go ahead and order those trucks. We can go ahead and put those, get those POs done for those trucks and get those in line. And then you can see there is a rollover truck that we've already ordered, and we're waiting on that truck to come in.
Y'all say the other day that these are 2 to 3 year orders. Are they that far out?
They'll come in.
And Ben is out working on power outages, so
poor
if
guy.
y'all have any questions.
Next, capital improvements, looking at a gate for the, pole barn or the pole yard. It's 30,000. And then, system improvements, it's just a variety of stuff that we're going to be doing. Poles and reconnectors on, Section Street. We've already ordered this is under residential distribution metering cabinet. That one, y'all already approved to order that, but that was a lead time that it's gonna come in 27's budget. And, it's just you have also some traffic signals, so you'll see that the big ticket item is Valana and Section Street signal improvements, that's 400,000. And when the next meeting, we'll talk about on the general government side, and so you'll see there's a project on the general government side that's gonna be improvements to that intersection. So at the same time, we'll be, putting up the traffic lights and doing some, additional improvements, drainage in that, area. But do y'all have any questions on any of the, system improvements for electric?
I did just want to remind everybody that $750,000 expenditure, when we had the study done of our system, that's one of the weak areas in our system. There's copper lines there. So we know we need to replace those. So that's what that project is. And it's actually splits 2 years. So we'll start part of the project and then we'll go into the next budget year as well.
I wanted to ask you about the Valanta project. There seems to be high traffic, driving too fast. What were we talking about doing with that?
On Valana?
Valana?
The only thing that's come up on, well, there's a couple projects on Valana. There's Valana at 98, which is an A-Trip 2 project, which will add turn signals. We'll add turn lanes at 98. And then on the other side of Valana is a public works project, will be drainage and repaving. And then the intersection, Ben and then will at that time change out the lights and change out the cabinet for the traffic signals. As far as speeding on there, that's been to the traffic committee. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong. The only thing we've really talked about is at Valana and Bon Secure, we put the, electronic metering there for our speed trap, the speed sign there for the police department. But we've also, looked at a four-way stop or at that intersection, but that's really it on Valana.
Okay, I just getting a lot of stuff from that area.
You want to be specific?
Just that the traffic is so fast that the people in Valanta are really upset because they can't pull in and out of their driveway, just traffic's going too fast. So you had
I
mentioned-
live near there. Jimmy lives near there.
I haven't
I don't
noticed
have any
anything.
problems.
I think the challenge that I know you already mentioned is that Valanta 98,
Yeah,
trying to take a left.
That's an awful
A
intersection.
left on Valanta up 98, they come so fast around the curve, you can't really see them.
This is more towards the new restaurant they're putting in, closer to that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's
I hadn't
right,
noticed that.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right
that's
there
it,
at Bon Secure and, Valana. We have talked about in the traffic committee, that may be something that we can evaluate again, but I do know the chief and them, they did a traffic study there. So they probably can address some speeding information for you if you want to see that.
And that
Okay.
intersection is tabbed for improvements, in fact, on here.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of
Yeah.
improvements.
Any other questions?
Yeah, ma'am.
I'm gonna shoot the light out with a shotgun one day if anything stops me. I was 5 minutes later because nobody there, and I had to stop for 5 minutes.
Run the light. Fairhope City Council, run it.
Would be good. I'll shoot the light out, but I won't run it. I'm kidding.
Yes, ma'am.
Um,
Water now?
Yeah, water,
All right.
and now you can actually see that in 27, we're getting a lot done in 26, and then on 27, it is reduced a little bit, for the water department, but it still is a lot. Starting out with their equipment, which is reduction from what we've done this past year, is $290,000. You can see there's a submersible pump that keeps a pump available for if a well does go down. They're able to grab a pump versus us renting a pump. A dump truck. This dump truck is if approved, will be shared with Public Works, because Public Works has times that needs an extra truck. And then there's replacement of some trucks and some equipment. Do you have any questions on that? And then the capital improvements, as you can see there, there's for the water treatment plant, we're looking at some roof replacement, a booster station, some building improvements, some asphalt at the treatment plant 1. And then next we'll go to, as you'll see, upgrade to the SCADA. So the SCADA is the, communication of what's going on at those treatment plants. And so this would be for us to do improvements for that software, or actually the equipment at treatment plants 2, 4, 5, and 6. Do you have any questions on that? And then $17.7 million in improvements. You see that, we do meters every year, having to add the new meters. What you'll see there is a lot of projects, but let's just be able to hit some of the high ones. A 12-inch water main replacement on 98 between 34 and 32. And that is the area that they continue to have breaks in, and so to be able to replace that whole area would save on when they have to keep shutting the water off because we keep on having breaks, is to replace that whole line there. You'll see another, 1.5 million for a 12-inch on Old Pierce to 181. And then the big project here is a 2 million gallon tank we're gonna spread that over multiple years, but we've budgeted for this year is 9 million. So that is a multi-year project. Right now it's being engineered, so you'll be seeing this come soon. And then well number 4 is to drill a new treatment plant. That's the 1.2 million. And you can see just some other upgrades. Is there any questions on those? I know it's a lot.
Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir, please.
Obviously, the $9 million water tank jumps off the page. It used to be about $1 million for 1 million gallons, and so let's just say it used to be $2 million for 2 million gallons. So we're at 4.5 times that, and inflation, I know I've been on this council a long time, I don't think it's 450% in that time. Is there anything that we can do about that? I mean, this is highway robbery. This is highway robbery.
And I know somebody that's at Gulf Shores Utility, and when he told me the number of what they just did the same tank. Believe me, I was on vacation texting Mayor, like, let me tell you what Gulf Shores, what it just came in. I'm like, we don't have enough in the budget.
Well, they know that we're growing, and they know we have to have it, and they know that, our citizens demand us to say yes to this, but I don't know if there's a way to say no to this.
It's really
So
not.
that they get a message that they're not gonna make $9 million.
It's really not 9 million, it's 12 million, split over 2 years, so it's 9 million, then plus 3 million. And, to be honest, it's not only here in Baldwin County, across the state, if you're in utility meetings, this is what a 2 million gallon tank is running, unfortunately, because I'm like you, I've been around long enough where it was basically $1 million per million gallons. And,
gallon.
yeah, and now I hope when we bid it, it comes in less, but obviously we'll do competitive bids, but right now, that's what we're seeing in the industry.
Well, what did it
Which is
cost
crazy.
to
we
paint
could-
that
I'll
tank?
recruit
It cost
somebody from-
it cost $1 million
$1 million
to paint the
just to
tank right
paint it.
now, just to paint it, to drain it and paint it. Yeah.
I bought my first house in Fairhope for $55,000.
I'd like to maybe look at
32 years
forming a
ago.
committee of experts that can go all over this country. You could pay people to live here for a year and build it. It's crazy.
It's expensive, I agree.
I have no interest in hiring a local company if that's what it costs.
Yeah, and again, we've had, folks reaching out, and we want to make sure we get the best price possible, so I'm hoping that we get a lot of bids. But there are not local contractors, to be honest, they're out of Texas and other places that are looking at these
Gotta be
bids.
somewhere in this
Yeah.
country that people
Yeah.
need work, I mean, gotta be.
But we've looked at North Ball and just put a,
Yeah, North Baldwin just did one at Novellis. I mean, so we've been looking around, and this is basically the going cost of them.
any other questions? It's a lot. Wastewater. Again, as y'all can see around town, we've been continuing to do work. So what we're asking for in '27 is a little bit less than what we've done, but it's still a lot. Vehicles and equipment, you can see they're wanting a side-by-side for the wastewater treatment plant, another new vehicle, and then the big ticket item is a camera van. If you have any detailed questions on the camera van, Daryl or Mayor can be able to answer a little bit more, but the van we currently have is
9 years old?
9 years old.
9 years old, yes.
And capital improvement, you'll see that the concrete apron at the wastewater treatment plant of $30,000. And then 17.6 million. I&I mitigation, and y'all just approved last meeting the $500,000 on that contract. Valley Force lift station or main is $200,000. The 181 main and Force main and 2 regional lift station, it's $5 million in this budget. That is a multi-year project. So that is looking at the 15 million going over. And then hot taps of Force main of 80,000. You have any questions before we go to the next page?
I've got a couple questions on these, so, well, and I'll start on this page. The sewer camera van, 450,000. I feel like, and I know it said it on here is outdated, but didn't we just do a pretty extensive outsourcing of that? If we have this kind of equipment, are we not able to handle more of that kind of sewer line filming in-house, or is this only for smaller projects? I feel like we just did a very large outsource job to have somebody come in and film our lines. Am I not remembering that correctly?
So that was a contract we had through our I&I mitigation. That was the
Okay.
CIPP and manhole restoration. And that's kind of an annual thing we're doing as part of the I&I.
Right, and I guess that's my question. We have almost a $500,000 camera van. Is that not something we would do with this?
It is. In addition to, I mean,
Okay.
our current van goes out every single day.
Okay.
It goes out every day. And a lot of the issues with our current camera van is it's old, it's outdated, the software is hard to get, the parts are damn near obsolete. There's long lead times, and our support for that van is in Jackson, Mississippi. So anytime we have to take the van, we have to drive it all the way to Mississippi, get it worked on for a couple days, and then bring it back. The current van we want to get kind of mirrors Daphne Utilities van. They just got a brand new one. I've sent guys over there. They're looking at it. They're putting their hands on it. They're getting to use it a little bit, and the local support is in Mobile. It's not in Mississippi.
That's
Hey,
much
Daryl,
better.
I think too, his question is, couldn't we not do the I&I camera instead of doing a $500,000 contract? And I think probably the answer is
Or
that.
vice versa.
Yeah,
No,
we're
either way.
we're using our sewer camera.
I didn't realize we were using it
every
every
day.
single
Yeah,
day.
Every
every
single
day.
day.
Yes,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was in
So you
that
would have
much
to,
utilization.
you couldn't do a project like that because you'd have to continually pull it, and it would
Yeah.
cut into operations,
Yeah,
basically.
and we don't have the personnel to do that.
Yeah, I really didn't know y'all used it that frequently, so.
Mr. Chairman, I want to ask.
Yes, sir.
Darrell, what makes that van cost, what makes that camera van 450,000?
It's the technology in it. Those cameras are, that sewer camera, the one that actually goes in is very expensive. It's just the technology in it alone is state-of-the-art. And we mirrored that price off of what Daphne Utilities paid for theirs.
Well, the van is what kind of, the van can't be more than the shell of a van, right? I mean, is it, what kind of van?
Well,
is
it's outfitted with the camera and all.
What kind of van is it, please?
It's a Ford or a.
Conno line, something like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just
So it's a
tall-
$50,000 van and $400,000 worth of equipment on it?
Yeah,
And those cameras and the technology's 400 grand?
yes. It's expensive.
Build water towers.
Jack, you're not liking the paradox of inflation.
Like I said, me and my guys, we've done our research on it, and we're trying to get the best bang for our buck.
Yeah, it's going to save a lot of money not having to drive it at Jackson, Mississippi.
And then we're out of a camera van for a week and a half.
Yeah, that's a big pain.
So,
Look at the positives.
Y'all ready for page number 2?
Yes, sir. Stay right there. Page number two, insertion valves. And that is not just one valve, that could be up to about 6. I mean, depends on the number of inches, make sure it's right, the number of inches that, those valves are put in, but those valves do save. When they have to, cut off some water, they have areas that they can just cut a section off. And so inserting these valves, actually help. This ain't necessarily water, this is sewer, so, those valves do help in those areas. Relocating a force main on scene at 98 of 400,000. Our on-call contractor of 200,000, and you have seen that on water and on sewer. We have the on-call contractors, and those are for areas or times when they don't have the equipment or the availability to get into some breaks that may happen. That it could be a time that it's too deep, that they'll have those on-call contractors come in. Some of our larger projects here, we're 2.8 million. It is a rollover, but that is going to be for rehab of the Grand Hotel lift station. We have this in combination that we have the regional lift station, and then once the regional lift station, that's the 2.8, and then it's the Grand Hotel at the 750. And then we also have in there, that's the engineering, that's still part of that project. There's several lift stations on here. Magnolia Beach Apartments for $660,000. East of the Sun lift station, 1.2. We have some air scrubbers for the lift station, 100,000. Twin Beach bypass pump, 200,000. Some half a million for just some general lift station upgrades, and these are some stations that they end up failing, that they were unknown, and so that pot of money is for that. And then we have for the wastewater treatment plant expansion phase 2, the engineering and design of 1.6 million, and then being able to put $1 million of blowers at the treatment plant. Do y'all have any questions? There's a lot going on
Got a
right now.
question. Are the rollovers captured in the system improvements for 26 and 27?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so if you look at that number and you add the two together, some of those numbers are being double counted.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's right. And so when I'm trying to look at cash needs,
You
I'm
need to
actually
know
having
what's still coming. and-
Yeah, I still need to know what's coming. I have to look
Yeah.
at projects that or contracts I've already approved, and they're still coming, and then if there's anything new, I've got to add those together.
And then random question for Daryl. East of the Sun lift station, I hadn't heard that name yet. Where exactly is that?
Yeah, we've got some unique
You got
names.
some
for 'em.
creative
We don't know
ones.
where they came from.
Okay.
But that's over by Spring Run. It's kind of tucked away back in there, but it's a high volume station, and a lot of that cost is going to be getting that force main off of Doghouse, which is another.
Now, that one I've heard
Yeah.
of for years.
So, and that's, during significant rain events, that Doghouse lift station gets a lot of use. So we're trying to we want to remove some of that flow. Also, East of the Sun lift station just needs a whole new rehab. It's a very, very old station.
Council, any questions for Daryl or Kim?
I want to follow up with your question. I think I understood it. I think I understood. Kim, you said that those rollovers were included in both. So if we had spent that, I got roughly, I was doing some really quick math, about 4.8 million. Does that sound about right? About 4.8 million. So if we had spent it all in 2026, that number wouldn't have changed because that's what was budgeted, right?
Right.
In 2027 would have been reduced by 4.8 million, and that number would be 12.8 roughly instead of 17.6, and so the reduction would have been significantly less,
Yes, it would be.
50% reduction almost, being some 40 to 50% reduction, so that's,
Because when you look at those two numbers.
that makes
side
it
by
look a
side,
lot
it's-
better if you look at it as if it had been spent then. Okay.
I was looking at that across the board for all of them. I thought, oh my gosh, there's no way we've spent that much money, and we still spent a lot of money, but
Makes
But
me feel better.
it's a
knowing
little
we
bit
didn't
better.
spend it, and then it would make this year's number a lot less anyway.
Yeah, and we budgeted to borrow 40 million this year, so that kind of gives you an idea that we've been, we borrowed an additional 5. And so we've been what I call limping along. Some of these contracts haven't, gone out to bid. Engineering is still working on some things. I know like the force main and the regional lift station, that's been in the works for a couple of years. So, some of these, we haven't, got there yet.
Council President, I have a
Yes,
question.
sir. Of course.
And Kim and council, you can help me. I haven't done a deep dive. I'm gonna take water and sewer sort of out of it because we know there's some significant challenges and upgrades and stuff that we have planned. But for gas and electric, we're operating at a significant deficit to income. And how, I mean, obviously you can't do that sustainably forever. So how common has it been in the last few years to operate at this level of, because I see it's a reduction, so it's, last year we spent even more, but does this, I only see 1 year here, right? If there was
Yeah.
5 years, maybe it'd be easier to tell,
Well,
but.
on the, when we got the rate study, that was based on 22's number for gas. So at gas, we were at 78% recovery. So not at 100%, recovery. But we really focused on water and sewer, water and sewer. And I know it's very hard for y'all to come in and, do rate increases. You get a lot of phone calls. But that is one that I've looked at, a lot today, looking at our rates, looking at some other rates, looking back at that study. So for gas, we're going to have to increase those rates. I just know when that rate study comes back, we'll even be further down the hole, really. And so on gas, the last time the rates were increased, it looks like around 15, 16 was the last time rates were increased on there. We do add a labor cost adjustment every year. I calculate that after the budget's passed. I look at what we're budgeting, and so we put in the labor cost adjustment. So that's really the only thing that's been going in the base rate is the labor cost adjustment, but the actual per cubic feet, am I saying that right? Cubic feet rate has not changed. And so actually looking at a competitor, our rate is $1.48, and a competitor utility is $2.10. So that really shows you that, but we haven't really focused on gas. Electric, we looked at their rates in '23 before the study came out. The study came out and showed electric looked good. It was at 100% capacity recovery. But in 2018, it was even better. So you can tell, like, it's gone down. I can see from looking, and the charts I've showed y'all is from 23 to 27's budget. You can see, like, on electric, the cost is just doing this, but our rates is revenues is staying flat. So there are some adjustments that I'm going to recommend, as part of this budget, especially for the gas and the water and the sanitation, that we need to increase rates.
So can I address that a little bit too, Josh?
Yes, sir.
Please.
You mind, Chairman?
Of course not.
On the gas, especially, if you look at the net operating of the gas, it looks good. And, you know, we have finally gotten into this cast iron replacement that has been, you know, we've known about this for 20 years, and so we're finally getting in the meat of it. If you took away that $5 million a year that we're having to put into it every year, and you get past that, once we get past that as well, and I'm not saying we don't need to look at rates, because we absolutely need to look at rates and keep up with
But gas makes
inflation.
some more sense after that.
But gas is like really performing well if you just look at a net operating balance sheet. And then if you look at electric, I think it's starting to fall behind. But something that Kim has said to me before, she's correctly recognized, is that we keep adding customers, which means we keep having to add infrastructure, and we have to have reliability, and we put a lot of investment into that. But just due to the efficiencies of appliances and lights and things like that, our revenues are pretty flat. You know, people using LED lights, and people have, you know, 18, 19 SEER air conditioning units. And so all of that, you know, is kind of dampening our income as well. So, you know, one of these days that'll, you know, maybe they won't, but the efficiencies probably will slow down a little bit. We may catch up, but our rates have to catch up as well.
And in electric too, because of the territory laws, we're not adding a ton of customers, and we're not going to, but you're adding efficiencies. You know, where you may have had a house that was on 2 lots, somebody will tear it down and they'll build 2 houses, but again, you're building in efficiency. So, that's where the change in that is. In gas, we are adding additional customers. We're adding, I think it was about 200 a year. Isn't that right, Wes? About 200 customers a year in gas. So that will be significant. But electric is one of those ones that's gonna, you know, continue, I think, to be a little bit of a challenge with the cost of infrastructure.
Yeah, I mean, at that rate,
And in the-
electric, we won't even be able to do it
Right.
the same amount next year.
And we've built 2 substations.
Based on the reserves.
You know, 2 substations plus the 44 kV loop, which we've talked about for years. So there's been a lot of things that we have paid for using cash reserves or using revenues that are 50-year, you know, infrastructure. So we have used a lot of our reserves in doing that.
And I think if you look at those balances in gas and electric as well, we still have some reserves left. So we had saved up for this time.
Yeah,
because
that's
we
why
knew
I figured
we were
we had
going to do
to
a
have been saving
cash
up for
burn. So
years.
we've been doing a cash burn for several years, but we still are in the black on that.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you have any questions? Okay.
Thanks, Kim.
Just to tell you what our plan is, the next meeting on the 14th, I'll go over general funds, capital, and our capital projects fund, go over those projects. And then for the last meeting of September would be a whole overview of the budget and, you know, be a recommendation on the passing of the budget. Plan is on the week of the September 7th is to give you your budget books complete for the budget, and so that gives y'all opportunity to be able to review it. If y'all need additional meetings, additional questions, please get with Mayor or me, and we'll be happy to answer any more questions.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Did a good job.
And has everybody had several meetings already with you, Kim?
Everybody's done all meetings.
Okay, excellent. Good job, everybody. Let's see, next item up is committee updates. Councilman Burrell?
Given a report on the airport authority, we do have, airport authority has a couple of resolutions.
Yes, sir,
just,
those are the only
asking the
two
city
we didn't
to
cover.
support some grant applications tonight. Kind of routine stuff for us is to just get the city to sponsor the grant application. And we have a streets and traffic committee meeting coming up in a week or so, right? Is that this week or next week?
September date.
A couple of weeks,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
8th or
That's
something.
it.
All right, Councilman Gammon?
I haven't had any, but I'll have tree committee this week and FEEF and not FEEF, Fairhope Environmental Advisory Board, FEBA. FEAB, doesn't really roll off the tongue like FEEF, but they'll be in a couple
Beef would be a
weeks.
correct
Yeah.
pronunciation.
Yeah.
Councilman Robinson?
Yeah, rec board met Wednesday of last week. Variety of topics discussed, but one of the things that they're still working on, kind of finalizing, is revising some of the rental terms for each and every facility around the city. Once we kind of get that ironed out, I'll bring it back and show you guys.
I had,
Councilwoman Booth?
are you ready? I had a library meeting, and just basically, the library is very healthy and happy at the present, and they have their plans for the future year, and we went over all the plans and some really good stuff coming your way.
All right, and I had unfortunately missed a parking authority meeting due to a work conflict, but had met with the chairman the day or so before that, so they were mostly going over, kind of the parking study recommendations we had and trying to determine how they could best help or best, fit in with next steps and kind of engaging on that. I've got a couple of meetings coming up in the next few weeks, and I think that's it. So, at this time, council, if y'all like, let's take about a 10-minute break and plan on starting back around 5:40.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, 40. We're going to go ahead and get started tonight. Welcome to the August 24th City Council meeting. First item is to have my good friend Reverend Ellen Huckabee lead us in the prayer, followed by the pledge. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Let us pray. Almighty God, our Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer, we give you thanks for the abundant gifts you have entrusted to the people of Fairhope. We give you thanks for our mayor, city council members, police officers, first responders, and municipal employees. We lift up their service to you today, asking you to make them wise and discerning leaders. Give them the grace for their eyes to remain open to see your hand at work in the world around them as they work for justice, peace, and the common good. Loving God, give us all the humility to recognize that every neighbor we encounter, whether they sit beside us or across the table, is a sibling in Christ created in your image. All this we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. All right, council. First item on tonight's agenda is to approve the minutes of the August 10th regular city council meeting and the minutes of the August 10th work session.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any changes, modifications? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, minutes passed. Mayor, your report?
Thank you. I really don't have much of a report tonight. I just really want to thank our staff and thank the city council. We've been working hard on the budget, and we had our first budget presentation tonight. I just want to thank all the leadership in particular for being real timely and working on the budget this year. And again, thank you to all the council members for making time to come to those budget meetings. I know they are not fun and they last a long time, but it's important that we're all there working together as a team. And really want to thank Kim and her staff who've worked really hard on the budget as well. We also tonight in the work session had a presentation from Hannah Noonan, our HR director, about the compensation study. And again, thank you to Hannah and her team for taking on that. That's a huge undertaking, and it's really important to our employees and important to being able to retain staff. So appreciate her and all her efforts. Thank you.
All right, that's it. That was short. Okay. Next item up is public participation, and this is going to be for agenda items 5 through 21. We'll skip agenda item 4 because that's a public hearing. And in fact, guys, we're going to skip that up until the point at 6 o'clock, and just since that's when we would have advertised for that to start. So at this time, the floor is open. You've got up to 3 minutes to cover anything on items 5 through 21. You'll have another opportunity at the end of the meeting to address public participation items that are not covered on the agenda. So the floor is open. All right, seeing no one, we'll close the floor. And council comments, Councilman Burrell?
I have none.
Oh, I thought we were doing that at the end. Never mind.
Oh, well, we're moving it up to
All right.
Councilman Gammon.
Yeah. You threw me off. I thought we were doing it at the end.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was just a typo. We always do it right after public
Out of order.
participation.
No, I mean, obviously, it's been, the last time we were in this chambers was for a very spirited discussion over city schools and this county school system. And I want to thank everybody that came out and thank you for the feedback that we received. Obviously, there was a lot of misinformation on there that we had already made up our minds or that a decision had already been made, which couldn't be further from the truth. But I guess the apologies to anybody if we didn't communicate that clearly enough. Or in my day job, we say perception is reality. So if we made an error, obviously we did. So apologize to the citizens if anybody was concerned or thought that we were taking a vote that night or the night after to remove kids from schools. That certainly wasn't it. I don't think that that conversation, even though we've suspended it for now, doesn't mean there's any valid points or invalid points on either side. I think that there's many benefits to staying inside of the county. We see that U.S. News and World Report that just came out. We're in the top, I'll say, 4% of all high schools in the nation, which is a pretty amazing feat. And there's, all the benefits and all the talking points that a lot of the students and stuff came up really talk about that, how great of a school system that we have and how beneficial it is to stay in the county. But I think it's also important to point out that there are some benefits to leaving the county and having a city school system. You know, the proponents talked about potentially, right, it's devil's in the details and the numbers, but potentially having more money to spend per pupil. That's disputed depending upon which study you look at. Having greater local control and you know, a number of other items, but it's a good thing for us to have these discussions and for us to figure out, is the status quo correct, or should we investigate something different? And so I always encourage folks to come to me with those questions, and I think it was a great conversation for us to have about this and about anything. You know, we should always be looking forward to the future and saying, what could we possibly be, as opposed to what are we today? So thank you to everybody that came out, and looking forward to talking through other things.
Sir. All right, Councilman Robinson.
I do not currently have any comment.
Councilwoman B.
No, I do not.
Okay, well, I guess I will try to keep it short and sweet then. I just would echo Councilman Gammon. Thank you to everyone who came out, participated, completed a survey online. You know, we were asking for input, and I think we got it. We heard it. I think maybe, you know, communication on my side, maybe what was missed was somehow I think the expectation was that we had this looming pending vote that we were about to take in any minute, and the reality is all we were asking is tell us what you want us to pursue or not pursue. We're just looking for feedback, and the good news is we did get feedback, so we got some clear direction, and I appreciate people being involved, and we do need to have difficult conversations about education and many other topics during our time here. So we do like having an engaged community, and I think that we're in a special place. And, you know, the fact that some of the issues we're trying to weigh are, you know, can we be better than the third or the sixth best school in the state? You know, we have so many people coming downtown that we can't find places to park during lunchtime. And, you know, the issues we have in Fairhope, I think a lot of places would love to have. So we're very fortunate, very blessed, and special community, and I just appreciate everyone being out there and being engaged. So moving on, public hearing, we still got to wait 10 or 12 minutes for you guys. So Eric,
Yeah, you're gonna have
do
to
we want
skip.
to wait on your
Yeah,
two
gotta skip
for a little
5.
bit? So
Yeah.
we're going to come back to the top of the order in a little bit, and we will move on to item number 6, which is a resolution that Mayor Sherry Sullivan is hereby authorized to execute change order number 1 for Julian's Plaza project with a cost of $17,975.72 to award change order number 1 to RHD's Building Company, LLC. The new total contract will be $450,373.86. Authorized treasurer to transfer $17,975.72 in the fiscal year budget from general fund to capital projects fund.
Motion to approve.
Got
I'll
a
second.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? And we covered in the work session, this is just to move the pavers basically on that project from around the corner so that we are still having the memorialized pavers for people in place.
The memorialized pavers or what there was concern, so.
Yes.
We're gonna move them properly.
Yes, so any motion, second, any questions? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Item number 7 is a resolution to award a bid to Fairhope Building Company for the relocation of the Henry Stewart House from 22787 US 98 to Flying Creek Nature Preserve with a bid proposal not to exceed $421,050, which includes a project contingency of 10% and a $30,000 contingency for MEP and landscape materials. This project is 100% funded by donations.
May I speak before?
Yes, sir.
we entertain a
Absolutely.
motion for that? Yeah, I spoke to Mr. Sonny Brewer last week, and he just wanted to send his deep regrets to everyone for not being able to attend tonight. He had an emergency and had to be out of town. And anyway, but he just wanted to, let everybody know what a big deal it is, and let everybody know that, how the rest of the country is watching this. This is a piece of history. So I think that that all the citizens owe a debt of gratitude to Mr. Sonny Brewer. We thank him a lot, and everybody that worked with him. You know, he's not only an author now, he's a philanthropist and an activist, and they raised 100% of the private funds needed to move this. So, you know, he put his heart and soul into it, and I just wanted to make it known during this meeting that he's really sad that he couldn't be here. So, you know, we miss him, and we thank him for all that he did. And Mayor, do you want to add on to that? I know he spoke to you and shared his sentiments.
No, you summed it up great, Jack. But there is also several people here in the audience who've been instrumental in that. Dick Scott's here, also Catherine King, I think Savan Wilson. So there's been several folks working on this. Fairhope Single Tax has been instrumental in this project. So again, thank you to everybody that's been involved. I'm really excited to see the Henry Stewart House at his permanent home at the Flying Creek Nature Preserve. And again, we'll see that hopefully sometime around the first of the year.
You know, I want to add just a personal thought on that, is that I'm really happy that we're able to move it to a location that he actually would have, you know, walked in his lifetime, you know, the area between Flying Creek and Rock Creek, you know, and you know, he knew that area. That was where he lived, and so we're able to move it. It's not going to be on the site that he built it on, but it's going to be within walking distance, and certainly land that he would have traversed in his lifetime. So
It's going to be much more visible. I think it's a great location. And also, we want to thank Richard for doing such a good job as well.
I'll just add that I gave him a shout out on the radio this morning because when the price practically doubled to $421,000, I didn't really think they would be able to raise all of that money independently. I thought they would come back to the city and ask for more, and I was thrilled to give them the land to put it on, but I kind of felt like the money needed to be raised through private donations, and, you know, he certainly showed me they raised every bit of it through private donations, and tells me that we have some incredibly generous donors out there in this community, but also people that really value preserving history, and I think it's fantastic that we're keeping it in a, as you said, a very similar type of location. It's not like we're moving it to some completely unrelatable property. It's moving to places very similar to what he would have been living on back in the day. So congratulations, Sonny, everybody else that was involved. Very well done. And
I think it's going to make a great VRBO myself.
I think it would be fun to be out there and watch them when they actually are bringing it down the street. That'll be
Well, they're going to
well
do a
worth
film on
watching.
it, so
I'll get
we'll be able
a
to see it.
good view of it.
Yeah.
Councilman,
Yes, sir.
President Conyers, I'd also like to say that there were some anonymous donors that donated very large sums of money for this, and they remain anonymous. And so that, you know, God, you got to love an anonymous donor that just gives, you know, tens of thousands of dollars. So thank you to those unnamed people.
I was going to say over $150,000, one private individual donor. So I'm hoping at some point they will allow us to recognize them, but that's a huge contribution.
Well, and if they won't, they're hopefully watching. Thank you very much. On that note, would anybody like to make a motion on this?
Motion.
All right, we've got a motion.
I'll second.
And 2 seconds.
Thanks.
Lisa, who got it?
Ladies
right.
first. Okay.
Okay. Motion in 2 seconds. All in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Congratulations, well done. Item number 8 is a resolution to adopt a transportation plan pursuant to the Rebuild Alabama Act for fiscal year 2027.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. And this is relative to the 1-cent gas tax. Any further discussion?
Great details there.
All right. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item number 9 is a resolution that the city council approves the selection of Mayor Sherry Sullivan for professional engineering services for the construction of materials and special inspections for the First Responders Safe Room Project to Geocon, Inc., and hereby authorize Mayor Sherry Sullivan to negotiate, to execute the contract and for a not-to-exceed amount of $30,000.
Approve.
I'll second
Got a
it.
motion and a second, and this is 90% reimbursable through FEMA grant. So, any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Item 10 is a resolution to award a bid to Larson Meridian Group LLC for fire extinguisher inspection services, annual contract in the amount of $55,000. If y'all recall, it's the third time we've put this out to bid, and
Yeah.
y'all are good with this one?
Motion to approve?
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item number 11 is a resolution that the city council authorizes and approves the addition of one temporary fire station maintenance coordinator position to the fiscal year 2026 budget to align with the retirement of the incumbent, who will work with and train their replacement. This will be beneficial to the city as well as the new employee. And Mr. Saraceno is scheduled to retire September 30th, and after which this position would be defunded, roll off, and the new employee would assume that position. And we've done this several other times, and it's been very helpful to
Yeah.
to have somebody shadow for a couple
Motion to
months.
approve.
Motion?
Did.
Yep, we got a motion?
Oh, did you already motion?
Second.
No,
Oh,
you
okay.
motioned.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and we got a second. All right, you got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item number 12 is a resolution that Mayor Sherry Sullivan is hereby authorized to execute a contract with Jackson Thornton Advisors LLC for revenue requirements analysis and utility cost of service study and rate study with a not-to-exceed amount of $86,800. This is going to cover gas, electric, water, and sewer.
A motion to approve?
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
When will we hear back?
6 months from the time they start.
6 months from now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's been about 4 years since we did this, so. All right. Yeah, all in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Motion passes. Item number 13 is a resolution that the city council authorizes city treasurer to advertise a request for proposals for a bank loan for water and wastewater.
So moved.
Second?
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
All right. Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Item number 14 is a resolution that the city council authorizes city treasurer to advertise a request for proposals for bond underwriting services.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right.
Flipping the left side of the dais.
All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right. Motion passes. Item 15 is a resolution that the city council approves and authorizes city treasurer to execute a medical stop-loss proposal with Symetra Life Insurance Company for specific and aggregate stop-loss insurance to be effective October 1st, 2026.
Motion to approve?
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. All right. We did go over this in detail in the work session, just talking through this, and this is the option that's been recommended by Cobb Zallen, and had some good thorough discussion on that. So any further discussion on this
So I
item?
missed that, it's the
That's the
125, okay?
Yes, sir,
Right, okay.
125,000.
Yep.
Limit. All right. All in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, resolution passes. Item 16 is a resolution to approve the fiscal year 2026 AIP grant application for land reimbursement, and that the mayor is hereby authorized to sign and execute any necessary and appropriate documents, including grant applications and grant agreements, so that the city of Fairhope and the Fairhope Airport Authority can receive funding under the FAA Airport Improvement Program, AIP, for grant funding in the amount of $285,339 for land reimbursement. The matching funds, if any, required for this AIP grant shall be the responsibility of the Fairhope Airport Authority and not the city of Fairhope. Councilman Burrell, we did not address these two items really in work session since you weren't here.
So, yeah, these grants can be used for anything on the property for which we already have in our master plan. And it doesn't specifically have to be for land reimbursement, although if you go back many years historically, we had used some of these grant monies to pay off some of the principal on the loan. It hasn't been used for that so much lately, but there are some needs that the airport authority has, such as we need access roads. We need more access on the east side so that we can lease the additional land that we have over there. Now, there's basically one road that runs east-west on the east side where there's a lot of new hangars, and we need a road open to the south of that. There's other needs. I was struggling with it for a while that they weren't using that to pay down the principal, but if it will help them increase their revenues and they'll agree to that land transfer on the the west side, we were talking about the values of those lands. Once we get that road built on the west side and they're gonna cede all of that land to us, which they should, since we've been paying for it since it seemed like, I was a kid. But anyway, that land will be, valuable. I'd put the value of that land somewhere, between 10 and $15 million once we get it improved. And we will start seeing all of our returns for the investment then. And I think that land will go quick once we get that developed. So with that in mind, let them spend it to improve the east side, I think.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll
for
make the
that.
motion to approve the grant application.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, well, thank you for the explanation and
Yes, sir.
update on that. All in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item number 17 is a resolution to approve the fiscal year 2026 AIP grant application for a fencing project at the HL Sonny Callahan Airport, and that mayor is hereby authorized to sign and execute any necessary and appropriate documents, including grant applications, grant agreements, so that the city of Fairhope and the Fairhope Airport Authority can receive the grant funding acting for and in behalf of the airport in Fairhope, Alabama, so that the grant applications for this AIP funding opportunity may be finalized, approved, and accepted in accordance with applicable law and procedures.
So, Council President.
Yes,
I
sir.
think everybody would realize that security is paramount at an airport, and we need to make some improvements to our fencing there. About $114,000, and the Airport Authority will only be responsible for about $5,700 of that, which they can afford. So I think we should submit this grant and move forward with this fencing.
All right. Anyone like to make an official motion on that?
I will do that.
Got a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, motion passes. Item 18 is a resolution that the city of Fairhope approves the award for the request for quotes and labor and materials for the installation of sand filters at the indoor pool to Classic Pools and Patio Center, Inc., for the not-to-exceed project cost of $72,900. This public works project will be less than $100,000 and therefore does not need to be formally bid out. Authorizes treasurer to transfer funds in the amount of $72,900 from savings on press box project at Majors Field to municipal pool project in the 2026 budget within recreation capital improvements, and authorize treasurer to pay the 50% vendor upfront.
Get it done. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? How close are we to having the pool open?
Approximately 10 days.
Okay, 10 days. So I've had people asking. So right after Labor Day, I guess? Okay, around there. Close, or right before Labor Day. All right. All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, motion passes. Item 19 is a request from Leslie Edgman, chairperson of the Fairhope Witches Ride, Baldwin County Humane Society, requesting permission to close the streets in downtown Fairhope on Thursday, October 29th, 2026, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. for the Fairhope Witches Ride 2026, and for the city to provide barricades and 2 power boxes. The ride will begin at Coastal Alabama Community College Amphitheater. This whimsical bike ride benefits local animal rescue and helps animals throughout our area.
A motion to approve.
Got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? I'll just say, kind of downtown on that route, it's always interesting to see somebody from out of town who has no idea what's going on when this comes by. So, always a good event. So, We got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item 20 is an application for retail food store consumable hemp products by Kamal Constantine Manning, Inc., doing business as Piggly Wiggly, 100 Plantation Point Road, Fairhope, Alabama, 36532. Chief said everything was in line. She's back there. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Chief, has anybody began selling those yet? Because I know that I heard the first two that we approved weren't actually selling them yet. You haven't seen any? Yeah. Yeah, I was just curious, because the other two, obviously, besides Greer's, were liquor stores, which are naturally restricted by ages, but this one and the Greer's, there's pretty strict retail display rules, so I've yet to see those in place, so.
Been looking for them?
You know me.
All right.
A motion to approve.
We've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, if you don't mind, I just, I want to put a warning out. Don't break the rules on this, or you will lose your business license. You won't lose your license to sell these products. You will lose your business license, so you've been warned.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. All right, all in favor of the application, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, we've got one nay, but motion passes. Item 21 is an application for beer and wine on and off premises licensed by John Perrin, the club at Fairhope Golf Works LLC, doing business as the club at Fairhope Golf Works, 363 Commercial Park Drive, Fairhope, Alabama. Chief said everything was in line with this application.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right, motion passes. Now, we're coming back to the top of the order, and item number 4 is going to be a public hearing for an ordinance to amend zoning ordinance number 1253, public hearing to consider the request of the applicant SEC Civil LLC on behalf of the owner Crahut Enterprises LLC for conditional annexation to R1, low-density, single-family residential district. The property is located at the southeast corner of County Road 13 and Mosley Road, and is 43.6 acres. Would somebody like to introduce the ordinance?
I'll introduce the ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Hunter?
Council President.
Yes, sir, go right ahead.
So we'll jump right into kind of showing the property. This is the acreage that you refer to. The aerial on the right shows the current conditions of the property. It is a large tract, so what you might not be able to see is the house facing 13. That is currently within the county, not within the city of Fairhope. It is zoned RA at the moment. This is the survey. I'll kind of jump through. There's never been any application for this particular property with the city. It's currently abutting this property within the city is R2. That's Pecan Ridge subdivision. To the south is within the city is R1, and to the west is the county rural agriculture. RSFE, which I believe is 80,000 square foot lots, and RSF2, which is 12,500 square foot lots in the county, are also nearby to the north. I'll kind of go back to the zoning map here. That shows the existing zoning in the county on the left, and then on the right, where you see the yellow and brown, brown is R2, and yellow is R1 that are in the city limits. R1 is our lower density single-family residential development. It requires a minimum of 15,000 square foot lots, 100 foot wide, and has a gross density of 2.9 units an acre. As some of the conversations, this is a list of kind of the uses that allowed there. For the most part, those are single-family homes. There is a component of this when we started looking at the first conversations and what can be done on the property, and certainly staff was recommending kind of keeping working with the trees, working with the land. That evolved to the applicant actually voluntarily restricting the density of this property to 1.4 units an acre as opposed, and that's the gross density, as opposed to the 2.9 allowed. That's just a number right now, but as it moves forward, if approved to a preliminary plat, they would have to meet that density instead of the 2.9. So that's a self-restrictive, and this would be a part of the ordinance, Lisa, what we would request, that this form be included in the ordinance if the council so chose to adopt. This is a conditional annexation, so the request for zoning is absolutely tied to the annexation. If the zoning is given, the property would annex into the city. There was a few comments at the Planning Commission. One of those was there was rumor that the land was in a trust and a conservation easement and something like that that protected it. There is no trust on this property. They did actually check that. And then there were some other comments, but for the most part, those are related to drainage and traffic. That is not something we review in a straight zoning request as this. Those would certainly come up if it were to move forward, get approved, and go to a preliminary plat application. We review those details within that application. So with that said, staff does recommend approval with that one condition. Subject site shall be restricted to a maximum density of 1.4 units an acre. That is being gross density. The Planning Commission also recommends approval, and they did recommend that unanimously with a vote of 8-0. Tower Homes, Price and Will Hightower here, as well as representatives from SE Civil. If there's questions, certainly I'm here if you have any staff or anything I can do to help.
What's the minimum and maximum lot size for R1s?
R1 is 15,000 square feet, total square feet, and 100-foot wide at the front setback.
Yeah.
So effectively, if they're going from 2.9 would be allowable to 1.4, they're basically, and they're not saying that they're all going to be 30,000, but they're going to limit it to that equivalent of
that number. And really, and we haven't had really too many conversations about what the layout looks like, at a very high level. But what that would allow to do with the 15,000 square foot lots is kind of move around, keep the same number of of lots than the 30,000, if you will, but work with the trees, instead of having to carve out for 30,000 square foot lots, you can kind of work around the trees.
You may have a 20, you may have a 40, you may just kind of.
May all be 15,000 and half the land
lot of common area
is
or
common
something.
area and green space and preserved. As we move forward, we'll see but it gives that flexibility, I believe.
All right, well.
I have a few questions.
Yeah, would y'all like to ask questions first or hear from the public? I say go ahead and ask them if you got some.
Yeah, I'll ask and make spark more questions. Can you go back to the original, where you showed the lots as the squares? I was a little bit confused. So,
this one? Or that one?
I'll go back to that. What was the one with all the parcels? Right here. Nope, that one.
Oh, yep.
So are all of those parcels, A and E, B, C and D, and F, are all those included in this annexation?
Yes. That's
Okay,
the
they're not
total
excluded.
acreage.
Okay, the way it was cut up, I didn't know if something was being excluded or not.
And this
Okay.
one might be easier to see.
Yeah,
that.
the one on the right. So is everything,
Everything in yellow.
nothing's being carved out there, right? Okay, all right. That was the first question. Thank you for that. I had a local resident that is in the watershed of this area, I'll just call it that for lack of a better word, and they were concerned that they may get runoff, and I did tell them, hopefully rightfully so, that, if the development's done right, it could actually help your property as opposed to hurt. Larry, would that be a true statement? Could you give them confidence that the water management would probably be better now or once developed than it, because you guys have obligations to contain that as opposed to vacant land that may not, right?
Yes, just for the record, Larry Smith, SE Civil. You're absolutely right. that was one of the many reasons when we started looking at this, that density is going to be reduced to make sure that we have adequate common area so we can manage and maintain the stormwater runoff while also protecting some of the trees that are in these low areas. Our client has now a history with Fairhope of wanting to protect trees. Hunter can attest, we worked through on Stonevale subdivision, regrading the entire site after we had totally done the design to help protect, and we relayed some of the lots out to help protect trees and save trees so that they can be enjoyed by the future homeowners. So yes, we will have to look at the downstream. We'll have to make sure that we're not hurting it, but we also will, in that process, try to make it better for anybody downstream of us. This property takes on runoff from the subdivision to the south. It comes through and flows through this site, so we'll take that into account as well.
And I think this gets challenging when you're talking to constituents, because right now, all that's really before us, and granted, they're looking down the road to how many houses could be there, but right now, all that we're considering is just a rezone, so that we don't have a layout to see where water would or wouldn't flow.
But it wouldn't be worse by law. They can't make it any worse.
Correct.
So, and then one last question I had, and I'm looking at the aerial map, and I mean, it's not a topo, but it's it's kind of showing the landscape there. Appreciate you voluntarily agreeing to lower the density to 1.4. But you always have to ask the question, if 50% of the land wasn't usable, then you're at 1.4 and everything's just crammed on half of it. I don't really see that here. So I just want to ask that question. You're not just, voluntarily making it 1.4 because realistically, that's all you could get on there anyway.
I don't believe that's the case, and we've done several layouts, some of them with higher density, some of them with lower density, and this is kind of where we landed. Obviously, we haven't done a full drainage design. That will come with the subdivision component of it, but it's not that they could only get 1.4, so we're acting like we're giving you something.
Exactly. We've had a lot of people come in here and go, we're going to have this great amenity, and it's 20 acres is completely unusable land, and they call it a 20-acre green space, which was undevelopable to begin with. So
I believe the first time we sat down with staff, and you correct me if I'm wrong, we had a layout that was denser than 1.4 units per acre.
Thank you, sir.
And to be candid, there is, we don't know exact boundaries, but there is a natural creek kind of coming through, but it doesn't encompass 50%.
It doesn't look, I mean, that's what I said. Looking at that,
runs north to south,
like
approximately through here, would likely have a 50-foot buffer on either side of that, but you're not talking about 50% of the acreage.
How many of or what percentage would you say of the trees and the natural forestation that's there are you planning on keeping or eliminating, however you figure that out? Because I've seen your property that you're developing over on 181, and I can see you have lots of tree protection. That's noticeable.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that yet because our next step will be to do a full tree survey so that we can figure out how to orient the roads to best protect the trees, similar to what we had to do the last time.
Is it fair to say you're not going to clear cut?
Yes. Well, is that fair to say? Yes, that's fair to say.
Feel free to take out all the camphor trees and all the popcorn trees.
Yes.
Shout out the camper and the popcorn.
No worries. We'll try to take those.
All right. At this time, I guess we'll go ahead and open the floor for the public hearing. If anybody from the audience would like to speak to this. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Will Hightower with Tower Homes. We came before you guys about 9 months ago for the property that you referenced on Highway 181, and we're super happy to be back here. So as a quick refresher on who we are and what we do, because I know you guys have been in this room for a while this afternoon, so I will make it pretty quick, but we are a family-owned and operated home building company. We're based in Birmingham, and we've been building here for about 3 years. My dad is here with me, and we have the privilege to build houses together. And we think this site is super special. We really think Fairhope is super special, and it's a place that we saw a few years ago. We kind of thought that there was not someone building the kind of houses that we really like to build. There was the national builders at the lower end, there's the custom guys that do the super nice $2 million homes, and there was a gap in between those two. And so that's really what we aim to fill, and that's what we envision on this site. We've been building, we're building in North Hills right now, Rock Creek, the Meadows, some of the communities that really fit that product in your city. And when we met with Hunter and city staff about this site, we outlined that vision, we talked through the density. There are wetlands running, there's a creek running north-south through the property, and so to the questions about the trees, hard to say today exactly how many, but there will be a natural tree buffer around those wetlands, so it will be, I think the site will lay out really neatly, and it will not look nearly as dense as many developments that you picture when you hear production home building. This also aligns with the comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan describes this site as being within the suburban residential classification. Some quotes from that are lot widths are 75 to 100 feet. We're talking about 100-foot lots here. Generous setbacks, and preservation of sensitive natural features. We like preservation of sensitive natural features because our home buyers like preservation of sensitive natural features. And so that is a win for us. I think it's a win for the city, and it's certainly a win for the future homeowners. We think it'll be about 50 lots. That's actually even less than 1.4 per acre, but just as we've worked on it with engineers and the site design that we like, we think it's going to be about 50 lots. And we really think it's something that we can be proud of, and I hope it's something that each of you can be proud of as well as you drive past it. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I've been sitting here looking at your twin daddy over there. Y'all look so much alike. All the meeting I've been drawing, going, they look just alike. But no, it sounds great. I remember you were when I first became council, you came up and spoke, and I remember you. You did a great job. I'm excited for you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Yeah. Jay? I got a couple questions. First off, you got a great YouTube program going on because I see y'all like every other day on my YouTube account.
They charge us for that, so I'm glad.
Yeah.
Seeing it.
Your dad, I'm getting to know you real well. No, I just some general comments and then overall. I mean, I think number one, we're coming from an agricultural designation in the county, but we're building it in a lot of city properties surrounding it. I think it's a little bit more unique. The last time you came up to here, I voted against that rezoning. I wasn't too thrilled with it, but this one, I think, for staff and anybody else that's listening, I think this density makes so much more sense as an R1. You're talking 50 lots and really 61 units if you really got to the 1.4 versus a total that could possibly be of 130. To me, a 50 lot neighborhood is a heck of a lot different than a 130 unit lot on that same tract of land. So I think long term, I just think that's something that we got to look at. That to me is a good in between from agricultural and so-called low density. I don't consider 130 units on that acreage low density, but I digress. I do think it's a great thing that y'all are doing. I've noticed the work, like I said, on 181. I don't see a lot of that. So it makes a difference. I appreciate y'all protecting those live oaks, and I get that there's probably some economic advantage to doing that, right? Your customers want it. It's good PR, but it doesn't mean that it's not also beneficial to the community. Two things can be true at once. So I thank y'all for doing that. And I also like the optional, the carry on to saying, look, we're not going to go higher than 1.4. That gives me a lot more good feelings about this because, again, it doesn't look like you're just simply trying to squeeze every penny that you can out. You're trying to match the neighboring facilities a little bit. I actually live right around the corner on a little bit denser properties than this one. But it definitely looks like it'd be good. And, this is one that I think is a little bit different. When you talk about conditional annexation, they're not coming to us asking for, hey, we're going to put an apartment tower here or we're going to stay in the county. So I feel much better about this, and thank you all for what you've been doing on the other property as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? Yeah, I'm always in favor of somebody that wants to be more self-restrictive on what they can develop instead of just trying to maximize it out, flip it to a PUD, see if they can squeeze a few more units in it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. But Would anyone in the audience like to speak to this? Fred, all right, well, seeing no one, we'll let this lay over and be taken up for final adoption at the next council hearing.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And Larry, I'm sure took y'all somewhere nice during your break. Eric, item number 5 is a resolution that the city council authorizes and approves a contract between the city of Fairhope and Children's Site Works, Inc. for the demolition of the dangerous building on the Fairhope Church of God in Christ property, and the total amount not to exceed $22,500, and that the mayor, the building official, the city attorney, and any other officials or employees acting under the direction of the mayor are empowered to do such things as are necessary to carry out the emergency demolition on the property and otherwise carry out the purposes of this resolution.
Okay.
Yes, sir. You gave us a little bit of background,
Yeah,
maybe.
I gave you a little bit of background. Yes, and Rick just gave me some information, so, okay, haul out and dump fee is listed on the contract that they have with the gentleman who already tore the building down. So we're good with that. As I mentioned to the Reverend, everything is good. That really, this is a contractual issue now between the church and the contractor. The contractor needs to, he has submitted for his permit. I need some kind of documentation.
Saying who owns the building?
Authorizing, because what we don't want is the city to issue a permit, there is unclear title or unclear ownership, and then we've given permission to tear it down, and there be a dispute later on by someone who is an owner of a grandson of an owner down the line. So some sort of documentation letting us know we have one of the legal owners of the property or legal ownership of the property giving permission for that, and then we can issue the permit. I will deal with the contractor directly and talk to them about permitting and the requirements for permitting. One of the things that, as I mentioned, the permit fee per our ordinance for working without a permit, we verify first if the work is in compliance. If it is, then the fee that is charged is increased as part of an assessment or a fine for that, and I'll work that with the contractor directly.
Yes.
Okay.
But
And
do we need to vote on this in any way at this point?
Just
At
need to
this
remove
point,
it from the
it's-
agenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to give y'all an update because we've been up in front of you now 4 times.
Yeah.
And I know everybody kind of wants to know what's going on, and I got bombarded with phone calls phone calls and photos late Friday afternoon. And so we're keeping you informed as to what happened, and I'm going to let is there anything else, sir? that you
Well,
want to
I
update?
did not give him permission to start. I told him he could start anytime after Monday, after we meet, praise God. But we did get what we needed to get the bill. Now we have another issue. This building has been in the city of Fairhope since 1931. The pillar states 1931. It's been torn down. I just have a question for Eric, and maybe, I don't know if the council, because like I say, I'm just asking a question. Why is it not that he can dump in the city of Mobile? Why do he have to take?
Mobile?
The city of, I'm from Mobile, I'm
That's
sorry.
okay. No. He can go to
In
Mobile.
the city of
Yeah.
Fairhope. No, why is
They
it
don't take
why is
those
it that he can't dump in the
types of
city of
materials.
Fairhope? Because it's just rubble. It's bricks and wood. So that's my question.
And I will answer that, even though that is kind of outside my wheelhouse. I know that we do not accept C and D at our landfill unless it is generated by citizens because of limitations on what our landfill can accept. And I may ask for some backup from John on that, just to make sure I am not speaking incorrectly.
Yeah, our C&D landfill is, and I talked to Murray Lawrence about that.
Yeah.
But it just can't handle the volume y'all got over there, and we just take residential garbage, we sort it, and we don't have all the bricks, we keep all that stuff separate, so with it being just a big mix match of stuff, we just can't take it there.
Okay. But then the reason I asked, because he's come back to me now saying that he had talked to someone at the city dump, and they told him that he could, and now he can't. So now he's asking for more money, which I told him we have a contract.
You have a contract.
Because, the dump was, so I just needed to know why.
Well, what do y'all, from the city perspective at this point, are we removing it
We
completely
can
from?
remove it this right now. It's
And we don't need to
contractual.
put it back on? It's
Do
not
need to
tabled,
put
just
it back
remove
on
it?
Because we're not gonna hire Childress to do the work. They
Okay.
have their contract with McCovery or asphalt paving.
Well,
So this is
okay.
done as far as, I believe this council is concerned.
Do we need to
I want a
vote on
motion
removing
to
it?
amend the agenda to remove item 5.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to remove item 5.
I just
Any-
wanted to say that I want to do a shout out to Hope Community and Susan Godwin because she came
Yes,
together for
yes.
Barry and
Yes,
she and
yes.
several of our pastors in our community came to a
Yes,
round
came
table.
together.
And before we left the meeting, there was $8,000 collected. By the time I got back to my shop, another 2,000 came in from the Baptist church and then 2,000 more came in. So our community has been extremely giving, compassionate, and that's what Fairhope's all about.
Yes, and I
That's great.
did want to thank them for, I didn't know if I could do it here. I didn't want to get nobody in trouble. But I do want to thank them. They came together in less than 5 minutes. We had
Oh, wow.
half of what we needed, and it was just so awesome. We could only cry, my wife and I, because
It's good. It's good stuff.
That's great.
Well, sounds like we've got this kind of
Sounds like
wrapped
we
up
got
from our
this done,
perspective.
And I
so.
appreciate the council's
Thank
patience
you.
and you working with us on it.
Well, thank you, Eric,
Glad
for
when we can help
helping
make
us.
something
thank
like
you
that
all
happen.
so much.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you, guys.
so much.
Appreciate
We
it.
need to vote on the
We got a
motion.
motion on the floor.
Yep, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of amending the agenda to remove that item, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? All right, motion passes. Item 23 now, we'll jump back over here, is public participation. You are free to address the council on any topic you wish. You've got up to 3 minutes and just need to give your name and address to the city clerk. So the floor is open. All right. Seeing no one, we will go ahead and close the floor and entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move second.
Motion is second, all in favor? Aye.